So hello once again, fellow Unity devs. Today I've got something a little different to show you guys. I'll be talking a bit about the game that I made for the Global Game Jam 2019 and a bit about game jams in general. I think you'll be able to learn some very useful things in the areas of development, and where I'll show you some useful resources and also how game jams are beneficial and let you develop your skills for thinking outside the box. So firstly, I'll begin with explaining what is a game jam. So a game jam is when a group of people get together, they get a theme, and then you have a limited amount of time to make a game, which is a very challenging process but can also be extremely beneficial to those who take part. So just recently, the 48-hour global game jam was held in 860 jam sites across countries all around the world, and this is the largest of its kind, and the theme was What Home Means to You. So the game that I made is called The Adventures of Randy Rogers and His Amazing Balloon. So for now I'm just going to shut up and I'm going to show you some gameplay.
Damn, I'm gonna be late for dinner. That's a lot of birds. That's a lot of birds. Damn, it's them gosh darn birds.
So how exactly did I make this in 48 hours, which is more like 20 to 30 considering that you need to sleep, eat and take breaks during that time? Well, the main thing is to throw out everything that isn't necessary to the MVP, and this is a thing that you should be considering in any game jam, and even for regular game development. This means minimum viable product, and this is the minimum amount of things your game needs to be considered a game. So not only did I use MVP for looking at what I should throw out of the game, but I also had some handy little shortcuts that I learned over the years. So I'm not going to go through exactly how I made the game through code, but if anybody would like me to, feel free to leave a comment and I'll gladly go through it, but it's not all too relevant for this video. I will, however, give a brief overview so you can learn some of the shortcuts that I used, and hopefully you'll find these quite useful. So let's start with the game. So the game is real simple. The player's in a balloon, he can't move, he can only rotate, and he can shoot projectiles at birds to defend his balloon. So these birds spawn from set points which are attached to the balloon, so they're always the same distance away. The player controller I used was from the Unity Standard Assets package, so if you've never heard of that or used it, you should definitely check it out, since it features a lot of really handy scripts to get your game started. So if the birds attack the balloon down to 0 health, the balloon falls out of the sky and you lose. While the birds are attacking, the balloon is travelling towards a certain point, where if that point is reached, you win the game. Another idea I had, which didn't really get implemented all too well, was the flock of birds which attack, and you have to raise or lower your balloon to dodge them. So the mechanics are actually pretty simple and easily implemented, but what about the assets? Well, the first asset I got was a nice balloon model. Now, I'm not a great 3D modeler by any means, but even if I spend a few hours making a balloon model, I'm only wasting a valuable time. So I'm going to link a few sites you can check out for some models in the description, and always remember to check the license and see what the creator says. So the next thing I got was a Wild West asset pack from the Unity Asset Store. Now I'll just clarify, the only reason that I used this was that I was going to buy it anyway, but it was a perfect fit for this game. Now some people may consider this cheating, but I would disagree since I want to spend more time coming up with gameplay and less time learning how to be a 3D modeler. So if you look around on those 3D model sites and on the Unity Asset Store, you can actually find plenty of free assets, whether it's character models or just props that can help you out. Now, since I'm not much of an animator, I'm going to go through some of the animations. So let's begin with the character animations. There's a real handy website out there called Mixamo, where you can actually import a character model, rig it with a skeleton, and apply high quality animations to it, which are compatible with Unity all for free. This really is a godsend, and it's a perfect tool for any game jam toolbox. Okay, so what about the hand and gun animations? Well, let's take a look behind the scenes. Now this looks absolutely ridiculous from the editor, but it looks pretty good in game. So I started with getting a lever action rifle to look right. So I looked at some examples of other first person shooters like Battlefield and COD to give me an idea of how I should make it. And with some stretching and scaling, I got the weapon to look right. So after this, I attached my rig character onto the FPS controller as a child, but just behind the camera. And then I moved his hands into place until they looked just right. And after this, some simple animations for idle and shooting were relatively straightforward. So next up for the sounds. So a lot of these were used from freesound.org, which is a great resource. So you got your ambient wind, you got your balloon gas, gunshots, you got your bird getting shot, etc, etc. And I recorded the voice lines myself with the help of a friend who had a decent recorder. But even if the quality of the recordings were low, you can get a real comedic effect if they're self-made. And it's a whole lot better than not having any or trying to shoehorn random vocals in. So now for the music. There's actually quite a few resources out there for royalty-free music you should check out. I'll be linking these in the description. One of these is Kevin MacLeod. Apologies if I pronounced that wrong. This guy is an absolute gent because he's got tons of music on his website and it's all royalty-free. So if you do a bit of digging, you'll definitely find something for all occasions. This was my go-to for music, but a friend actually had some Western music that he got from some theme park, so I decided to go with that. And since I'm not selling this game anyway, I don't think I'll be getting sued or anything. Now, with regards to getting your game to look good, I know I kind of cheated because I had an asset pack. However, if you can find assets that have roughly the same style, that's a huge help. And secondly, Unity's post-processing is also a must-have. Here's some shots of the game with and without Unity's post-processing. And it's really easy to set up and implement, so definitely check it out if you haven't heard of it. Also, if I didn't have a poly-style asset pack and I was using semi-realistic models I found online or whatever, a real handy tool is Materialize. Now with Materialize, you can import textures and create all the maps you need to make it look like it's high fidelity. So you can generate normal maps, which can give a material depth without making any changes to the model itself, and a lot more, so this can make your models and textures look really good. So we got our code, models, textures, animations, and sound/music. So what next? Alright, so a little bit about game jams here now. I think game jams really force you to consider narrative. That's so you can come up with a real interesting mechanic that's never been done before. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. However, you can also have some real simple mechanics and a real engaging narrative that the player will want to find out more about the world that he's playing in. So a lot of the ideas that you come up with during a game jam you'd never really think of otherwise, because by closing you into a box, they force you to think outside of it. This, I think, is the best part of a game jam, because the theme of what home means to you limited my options down to making something to do with home, and I was able to come up with this ridiculous idea of a cowboy who lives in a hot air balloon. So, I think this game may look and play okay for a game made in 48 hours, but in its current state it isn't really something that I see being made into a full game. Some things worked and some things didn't, so the real casual and relaxed aesthetic and design really stood out a lot more over the shoot 'em up kill birds thing, which is really, I think, the weakest part of the game. So I think that if I was to take this game a lot farther, what I would do is I'd keep the narrative, make some new mechanics, like maybe you go around exploring the Wild West in your balloon, you help out people with quests because it turns out having a hot air balloon is real handy. So for example, maybe a farmer lost his sheep, so you have to take to the skies to find them, lasso them and drop them back in his farm. So I think as a prototype, this game really does its job, and you can easily see how you could go farther from here. So to close, I'll be listing all the resources I talked about in this video in the description, and I hope you learned something. Not only about how to take shortcuts, but also about why you, as a game developer, should attend game jams. They really are a great place to come up with creative and out there ideas and build your skills as a game developer. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.